Station Houston on 2 for David. We are ready for the event. Whenever you are, we'll meet you in the lab. Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready.
Canadian Space Agency, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check. Space Agency, Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
David, ici.
David, here we are in Ottawa and we can see you.
Loud and clear from the space station.
Loud and clear from the space station.
All right, David, quel bonheur d'être avec toi.
Such a pleasure to be here for this event. We are very impressed by the work you are doing, with the eagerness you are sharing your work. So we're very excited.
From
Earthling from Canada.
We follow you every step of the way. But actually, maybe not a step, actually, because you're in weightlessness and you're not touching the ground. But you'll tell us about this in a minute. We see you. You don't see us. So let me tell you that we're here at Rideau Hall with friends and colleagues and students. But I also have someone really special right next to me who's going to say hi.
Allô, David, est-ce que tu m'entends?
Do you hear me, David?
Bonjour, bonjour. Comment ça va, mon amour?
Good. Hello, hello. Hello, my love. How are you doing?
Bon matin.
Et puis, une autre personne très spéciale.
Another very special person. I would like to say hello to you, David, the Prime Minister of Canada.
Hello, David.
Hello, David. It's a pleasure to see you in space. We had a great conversation before you took off, and I'm very happy that you are representing us today with the Canadian flag.
Science is extraordinarily important to Canadians. It's important to this government. And our capacity to continue to be world-class in our contributions to science and to space is really important to me, to you, and I think to all Canadians. And I'm just so glad to be able to celebrate with you what you're doing, and mostly be able to turn it over to some young people who have some really important questions for you, because we know that how we engage next generation and getting excited about space is key to building a stronger and better Canada. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Finn, who has a question for you.
You went through a lot of training in preparation
Merci,
to be ready for
Minister.
this mission.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Cannot prepare you for every situation. Was there an event that happened that you were surprised about, and how did you handle it?
Hey, Finn, that's a great question. Yes, you're right. All you see at the tip of the iceberg here as I'm finally ready. And, we say that astronauts, we kind of make our job look easy, but it's not easy. There's lots of training. And, I think what was the most surprising coming here, of course, is that everything is a bit familiar because of all the training, but it's strange that you're floating and everything is floating around you. You have to learn to live again, basically, and how to handle things. But what's most unbelievable, of course, is the view out of the window. Every time I open those window shutters and look at the Earth below me, I'm just, gobsmacked. It's an incredible point of view, and it's such beauty. It makes you want to come back to Earth and make it better.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Sarah.
Hello, my name is Sarah. How do you feel to be up in space and in gravity?
Mais en fait, c'est un petit peu comme être
So
dans une
it's like
piscine,
being
peut-être, tu
a
vois, tu peux
swimming
flotter
pool,
comme ça,
maybe, because I can
et voilà, tu
float.
touches à rien.
I'm not touching
Pendant
anything.
quelques semaines, on a un peu une
During a
drôle de
few weeks,
sensation
we
que
have a
notre
few
estomac flotte
sensation
à
that
l'intérieur, un peu comme
we
quand
have the
tu sautes des
stomach
côtes plongeons pendant que tu
flowing,
tombes, ce sentiment-là
floating
peut durer
around
long.
like you are
Après, ça fait un peu une
jumping,
congestion parce
and
que le sang remonte à la
after
tête.
that, you're
Donc,
kind
il y a
of
quelques
congested
sentiments
because your blood
étranges
is
comme ça,
going
mais
up
c'est surtout le
to your
fait
head.
que
But it's
on
mostly
peut se
the
déplacer
fact
en
that
volant.
you
C'est ça qui est
can
vraiment
move
incroyable.
around by just floating and flying almost. That's what's incredible.
Hello, I'm Serena. How do you use creativity or artistic skills in space?
Ah, yes. So it depends, of course, of the talents you have. You're all familiar with Commander Hatfield, who's a brilliant musician and used that to play music in space. A lot of people use photography as a way to express themselves artistically, because the Earth is so beautiful, and you can take endless, amazing photos of our beautiful planet from here.
So, hi, my name's Simon, and I was wondering, what are some of the coolest projects you're working on in space?
Great question, Simon. Thanks. So, as you know, the space station is a laboratory. So, we're here to do scientific research on behalf of scientists in many, many countries around the world. One of the things that I like most myself, particularly anything that has to do with medicine, and in particular with healthcare, because before being an astronaut, I was a family doctor in a small Arctic village in the north of the country, and the problem of giving good health care to remote communities is the same problem as giving good health care to astronauts. So any project that helps health care of astronauts will help health care of people living in rural and faraway places in our country. So, for example, there is a cool project sponsored by the Canadian Space Agency called biomonitoring, where it would be like a smart shirt that can take all your vital signs, so you can be constantly monitoring your health without having tubes or cables connected to you. And I think that has great future for health monitoring in remote communities, or perhaps people on expeditions, or our deployed troops, or people who have hard time leaving their home even if they live in a big city. This is the future of healthcare, I think, that we're developing up here.
Bonjour,
Hello, my name is Emilia, and I wanted to ask you, is it possible to see the position of space, like, for example, plastics in the ocean? I tried to see the island of plastic in the ocean, but I was not able to see it. Maybe I need to look closer. But yes, we can see pollution like around cities. We can see smogs, and we can take pictures of icebergs and polar areas, and compare with previous pictures. We can see the effects of deforestation. So there are effects that we can indeed see on our great planet. Hello, my name is Simon. What kind of experiences are you looking for in space? So I described the medical experience, but there are many others. For example, before I was organizing a garden, we are trying to grow plants in space to see, for example, on space, if we can grow something. We can do research in molecular biology, in material sciences, or astrophysics, psychology, human psychology, research, more technological, how to survive in space, how to improve our survival systems here. So there are many experiences, hundreds and thousands of manipulations that have impacts on Earth. And that's what's so extraordinary about space research. It helps on Earth.
Hi, I'm Ivan. I wanted to know, what are some of the other non-science skills that you use to make your time on the space station successful?
Good question. So yeah, to be a successful crew member here, you need to have a pretty wide range of skills. You don't need to be the champion at anything, but you need to be reasonably good at mechanics, for example. I was just before this conference repairing our oxygen sensor. I feel like I was a plumber suddenly, or a mechanic working under a car, lots of bolts and pipes to remove, staying clean. You have to be good at the robotics. I'm just standing in front of the Canadian Robotics Workstation, so you have to be able to control Canadarm. You got to be able to use the spacesuit, or the big bulky white spacesuit to do spacewalks. That requires strength and fine motor skills and a good memory and a sense of the big picture and be mechanically savvy. You have to be sometimes a biologist because we're doing experiments on cells. You have to be, of course, be able to speak, like to be a teacher, so you can share the experience with other people like I'm doing right now.
Hello, my name is Jamie. You must have trained for a long time to be an astronaut. Was there any point that you thought that you weren't going to make it or that something was too hard? And how did you overcome that?
Well, I will not hide my true feelings about that. Every day I thought it was hard, and every day I thought I was near my limits. They ask a lot of us, of course, and they rightfully expect a lot of astronauts. But the trick is that we're not alone. We have friends, we have colleagues. It's huge teamwork. Collectively, the astronauts together, we want everybody to succeed, so we constantly help each other. And by working together, with our instructors and our colleagues, we managed to reach these levels of skills that maybe individually you cannot reach, and that I think is a good lesson for everybody. You can go. I want to quote Madame Payette here. A nice quote I heard from her. You know, if you go alone, maybe you can go fast, but if you go as a group, you can go further.
Hi, I'm Jonah, and my question is, if I want to work in the space field, but I don't want to go to space, what else can I do?
Excellent.
Wow, well, you know, the world is your oyster. The space sector is a hugely interesting field. Astronauts, you see me in space, but that is a tiny part of my career. I spent 10 years working in Mission Control Center and in training before that as a support for other crew members. And it is amazing the enthusiasm and intelligence that is buzzing around the space sector. It's an incredible field to work in. As an engineer, as a scientist, as a mathematician, as a planner, as a manager, there are so many ways to work in the space sector. And it is a booming sector of our economy with huge promises. So I think it's a good choice.
Hi, my name is Vishal, and my question is, what is the funniest thing you have done in space?
Oh, well, so it was pretty funny during the beginning of the holiday season. My colleague here, Anne McLean, she brought an elf on the shelf on board who joined us. And so we had fun putting it in different places and sharing that with the world. So you can do little pranks like this to each other. Don't try to be not to be too aggressive with your pranks because you don't want to put anybody in trouble. You can make surprise phone calls. That's something I love to do, and it's always well received.
Hello, my name is Maria, and my question is, why is Canada's space program so important, and what are the benefits?
I'm glad you asked this. So there's many aspects. First, I talked a lot about all the health research that we do. All the research we do in space on health has benefits for everybody in Canada. And that's because basically being in space is kind of bad for your body, and the way in which it is bad for your body resembles real disease on Earth. So whenever we fix a problem for astronauts, we fix a problem that's a real disease on Earth. Then there's Earth observation. We have an amazing vantage point on the planet. It's important for a big country like Canada. We control our navigation, we control our agriculture, our national defense. All that's controlled from space. And our environment, the way we're going to monitor our planet if we want to save it from our bad actions. So Earth observations is huge. And then it's just from an economic point of view, it's a huge booming sector. And the what we call the new space economy is really something that a forward-looking, innovative country like Canada really wants to be involved in. That's the kind of Canada that I want my children to grow up in. A Canada that is a spacefaring nation at the front edge of research and technology. Then, of course, there's all the inspiration. I myself, as a child, I was really inspired by space and astronauts. And even though I didn't think it was possible to become an astronaut, it was really a source of great motivation for me, of dream. And we know Canada, our resources are important, but what is our biggest resource? Our biggest resource, of course, is the minds of our children. So if we can boost their motivation with space exploration, then we're all winning.
Bonjour, mon nom est Alex.
My name is Alec. Can you tell me how the oxygen system works in the ISS? So oxygen, we are making it on board from water. We separate hydrogen, oxygen. We breathe it, and then the carbon dioxide is used, and there is a loop, a closed loop. We cannot recycle everything, but it's very efficient. It's not like on Earth, of course. On Earth, it's a perfect loop between the humans, the animals, the plants, the plankton, and that way we are in a closed loop. Of course, on Earth, there is never a bottle of oxygen sent to us, but for Mars, we'll have to master that technology, and that's what we're doing on board.
Hi, my name's Hannah. What's something you've never been asked about space before that you wish you have? That's a
quick question. Something I asked myself actually before going was, wow, I hope it's worth all this trouble, because it is a lot of trouble, you know? So the question maybe would be, is it really worth it? And the answer is yes, because it's fun to be here. It's gratifying because you know you're doing something really worthwhile. The view is unbelievable and really, really touching. It really changes my perspective on our planet and our species and our reason for living, really at a pretty deep level. And so I guess that's the question that we should ask. Is it worth it? And the answer is definitely yes. And it's definitely something worth it for Canada to pursue.
Merci, David.
Thank you, David.
How much I concur to that last. We have a few more students here who had questions, but we are running out of time. So maybe they can send it to you in writing so that they can get answers. I would like to commend one of the comments you made about teamwork. We can't do anything alone, and I know that there's an enormous support structure out there for you. I'd like to say hello to Mission Control, Rick Henfling, Flight Director, and everybody out there that are supporting in all the mission controls for the International Space Station. On est très impressionnés.
Very impressed and very proud of you, and we will continue to follow you in your steps. Bravo, David. Thanks a lot.
Merci, Julie. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you to everybody. Please show us a few tricks.
station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you, Canadian Space Agency and participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.